What is up, everybody? Welcome back to GOALAZO here on FSI. I'm Alex Hooper. Going to bring you through some GPP strategies for this weekend's Premier League soccer DFS slate, Saturday slate. I got to be clear about that. But before we hop in, make sure to like this video if you're enjoying these GPP picks. Subscribe to the channel for my videos and Gators videos, and the NFL videos, and the MLB videos, all the great content that we provide. And then leave a comment. Who do you like this weekend? How do you want to approach the slate, which is a weird one? Let's get to it. Two gigantic favorites on this slate. And we'll start at the top here. Liverpool, Crystal Palace. Liverpool at Anfield, minus 462. Palace plus 1470. A 3.25 goal total. A little bit of a favor on the under here from Pinnacle. I want to jump all the way down to the biggest favorite on the slate. City, minus 636 over Southampton. Plus 1928 road dogs are the Saints. 3.5 total. Again, a little juice on the under. Then we get into the middle card. Arsenal, a favorite on the road at Turf Moor against Burnley. Arsenal plus 104, Burnley plus 296, 2.5 with the under. And then Norwich home to Watford. Norwich, the favorites there at home, plus 121. That is a 2.25 total with some juice on the over. So we see the two big favorites. There are three ways to play this slate. One, play roulette with both City and Liverpool. Try and catch the goals and try and catch one goal elsewhere, or just find an absurdly high floor, James Ward-Prowse, something like that. Actually, no, that's one of the games. How about Nicola Pepe, which is going to spend a lot of your money, and then you're going to have to punt down on a lot of these City and Liverpool guys. What I think might be a more optimal strategy, pick one of these games, stack one of the favorites, and fade more or less the other big favorite, hope they only score one, and maybe even grab some direct leverage from the team that they're playing. The third option is you play none of them. You play the floors. You play Grealish and Alexander-Arnold and pray for sub goals and center back goals, and then play a lot of Watford, Norwich, Arsenal, and Burnley. I think I would rather roulette the two big dogs than, you're still essentially rouletting those other teams. Now, obviously, you can go with a balanced build of all of those things. But I think in GPP, multi-entry, we're looking at a single entry contest here, but I'm talking multi-entry. I think you got to take some stands. You got to hope for some chalk to fail, and then you got to leverage that chalk quite a bit. So who's going to be the chalk? Well, here I think is what the standard build is going to start off with. Mo Salah, the most prolific scorer on the slate. Jack Grealish, who is pretty much on all the sets for City, even cannibalized some from Kevin De Bruyne as he returned in the week against Leipzig. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold, who at $9,000 is even more than our boy Jackie Cavs. So, assuming this is the standard build, how do we get leverage off of some of these points? If you were playing Liverpool, if you're playing Alexander-Arnold and you're playing Salah, and say you want to play Mane, you obviously, even for cash savings, got to get rid of Grealish here. You still have very little to work with. I'm not going to build a lineup, but so if you want to get super different and you're not playing City, I think what makes a lot of sense for some leverage, because so many people are going to be playing City as the biggest favorite, I think you turn around and say, hey, I think, where is he? Where is he? Did I whiff? Let's just search. I think Che Adams scores against City. All of a sudden, you're looking at 37.75. I think you drop down here. I think you punt a keeper. and get that other side of the City match. You know, maybe they only score one, put up a lot of shots against McCarthy. And then all of a sudden you got to fill in here. That's one way to do this. And, you know, I play Mane here, but I actually think because of his price savings, Diogo Jota is going to be one of the higher owned players on the slate. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, I think this is solid, especially because I got to say, there's a chance Mo Salah rests here. So if this is the case, then I mean, Mane Jota is going to be huge. You might get Oxlade-Chamberlain, out wide for Liverpool as well, which, you know, maybe that takes some of the ownership off of Jota and places it there. Maybe he's low owned. I don't know. But, you know, the savings. Let's see. Let's look at some Liverpool guys really quick. Origi, 5,700. Minamino, 5. Ox is 3,800. So if you can get a forward wing, and granted, he's playing the Salah role, not, you know, where Harvey Elliott was playing and where Ox is kind of subbed in, that 3,800 is, let's call it tasty. So turning this around really quick, I think you can do the same thing here with City. So you go Grealish up top. Let's say we like Gabby Jesus. I think, you know, keeping Alexander-Arnold is smart. I think he's going to be very involved. I wouldn't want to fade him even in GPPs. I think you can find some other cheap goals and get this floor. But yeah, you can do the other thing. So we're talking against Liverpool. So maybe I want Zaha. I want Keita. Still got some savings. And then, you know, maybe I go back. Silva, 6,700. Where's Ferran Torres? 81. I mean, you can still do it. You can go all the way down. You can find a, oh boy, that's not helpful. And all of a sudden you're still playing another 2,700. So that is one way to play it. And I mean, you can get cheaper here. You can mix. I mean, instead of Torres, maybe you play Oxlade-Chamberlain here. And I mean, that affords you quite a bit. I think the key thing here, though, is like, I think a lot of people, if you're stacking City, I think they're going to be like, well, I love City, so I'm going to play Ederson. So that's why, if you're not playing Ederson, that's why I think you go to a Che Adams, or, I mean, what's a Moussa Genipo going for these days? 36. He's, I think, expected to start on the wing for Southampton. Yeah, Genipo. Livramento has been great. So, you know, there are other cheaper options. Let's look at some of them for Palace. Ayew had a nice game against Spurs, although who didn't? Benteke, you could go there. You could even, let's see what Conor Gallagher's working with. He's probably priced up and probably don't want him. 68, sure, you can get there if you really want. So I mentioned the other sort of situation here where maybe you want to play all of them. Maybe I want to play Salah. I want to play Jota. Forward, please. 68. Where are you at, brother? Midfield. Oh, it's 8-3. Okay. And then maybe you want to play a cheap-ish Gundogan. In that case, I mean, if you're chasing both teams, in that case, drop down here. You still doesn't look like you can even do it. Especially, you know, like if you want to play McCarthy, yeah, you can't even do this. And we're talking like, all right, you can do that, but you're punting 2 defender spots and dropping down to the second best defender. You know, I don't love that sort of build. So that's why I think you just take a stand and hope for one side to fail. And when I say you want one side to fail in this case would probably be not win 3-0 plus. Like if Liverpool puts up a 2-0 win against Palace and Fabinho scores again, then good chances the Salah or Mane or Jota plays all fail. It could be Mane and Fabinho or Jota and Fabinho. But either way, that's kind of killing one of those forward spots. Salah can get a nice floor at this point. But, maybe he doesn't die completely, but 10-8, most expensive player on the slate. If he doesn't get a goal here when you're expecting quite a bit of goals, that one might hurt. So, all right, so let's run through some players really quick and then kind of talk about the same sort of stuff that we've been talking about. Pepe is a nice play against Burnley. For some of the other teams on the slate, he might be low owned. It's also Arsenal. It's also Burnley. Burnley is going to bunker. Maybe Pepe puts up a nice floor game. 8,700 is going to be tough to get there. Here, your City guy. I mean, this range is good for, your goal scoring odds. Dwight McNeil at 8,000 probably will go virtually unowned here. I always like Sarr. He's wide. He's fast. It's Norwich. Like, Norwich can give up a goal. Aubameyang and Sterling, if either of them start, are great GPP options. Sterling was like 5,800 on the Champions League slate, and I was kind of hoping he'd be the same here, but that's not the case. Really quick, let me go back to these Arsenal guys really quick. Pepe and Alba. I mean, especially Alba at 77, Lacazette at 74, Saka at 71. So because of the prices of a lot of these City and Liverpool guys, you're going to look at goalkeeper and you're going to go all the way down and you're going to say, oh, well, I mean, Nick Pope, got to play Nick Pope here. There's going to be some serious chalk here because it'll be tough to get up to these two. Some people will find a way, but it'll be tough. And you're not going to want to play Palace keepers against Liverpool. Not going to want to play Southampton keeper against City. A lot of them are going to go with Pope. So the direct leverage is those Arsenal guys. If you think Pope is pretty highly owned, get some leverage against that and play some of these Arsenal guys. Because for every time one of these guys scores against the Pope chalk, that's a 14-point goal. You get, the 10 for the goal, the 1 for the shot, the 1 for the shot on goal, plus all of those lineups are losing 2 points because you scored there. So a little extra leverage against that chalk. Arsenal guys, probably a key spot here on this slate. Otherwise, I mean, I love Chris Wood. The Burnley, Watford, Norwich guys, I think you're just looking for one-off goals here. So we'll try to find some of the cheaper guys from those teams who I think can make a difference. Already talked about Zaha. Dennis at 58. There you go. Perfect spot for that. Pookie at 56. Fantastic spot for a nice little pay down. All you need is one goal, a penalty or a nice little run through, and he scores and you're set. Adam Armstrong not expected to start, but the same thing as Che Adams, like solid leverage spot if you're playing mostly Liverpool. Solis might start. Same thing there. Rashika, even cheaper than Pookie, even has a floor. I like that spot quite a bit. Ashley Barnes, if he starts again, big savings. Benteke, big savings for that Liverpool leverage. Goodmanson, 4,700, wonderful. Ayew, the biggest leverage against Palace. Joshua King, I think they said he hasn't scored in like 15 consecutive league matches, but he's there if you want to play him. Then there's Ox again. So yeah, same sort of thing. Midfield. Now, if De Bruyne starts with Grealish, I want to say that could be a good GPP play. But I imagine there are going to be a lot of people who didn't play Champions League, who didn't realize that Grealish was really cannibalizing Kevin De Bruyne, and I think people might fit him in. So maybe he's not that good a GPP play. Ask me at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Some of the defense only. Gundogan at 7,800 has had some of the highest goal scoring odds for City. And given that he's not cheaper, I think he might be decently unowned for the spot, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, he'll still be owned, and you're not going to get you much floor, but if he scores, you're happy you played him, and you probably get a little bit of leverage there. We already talked about Conor Gallagher, 6,800. Not my favorite play here, but he's been balling. James Ward-Prowse at 6,500. If you get a negative game script, especially, like you can run James Ward-Prowse back with a city stack. In a negative game script, there's a chance James Ward-Prowse just starts bombing. And I don't want to say that for certain that's what's going to be the case, because, Southampton's going to have possession for that to happen. But I think he's a viable play. And at 6,500, you get a little bit of savings, but you're going to need him to hit, like that higher end of his floor. Westwood at 6,100, doable. He's been good. But there's some other savings options I think you'd rather get to. Cantwell, Odegaard. I like Cantwell more. Odegaard, if you want a real weird leverage against Pope. El Yunusi exists. Smith Rowe, if he starts, some very fine Pope leverage. Some of these guys are meh. Prolific goal scorers, Rodri and Fabinho. Leaves Malou at 4,300 if you're going to play a Rashika and a Pookie and you really want to get weird. You can correlate there, get some savings. Kenny McLean playing up-ish for Norwich, not horrible. Sambi Lokonga, 4K for Arsenal. He's been all right. Got some shot floor, not a ton of crosses, tackles one. Like not a dependable floor, but not your worst play. Brownhill's there. Maitland-Niles, again, if he plays, probably won't. I don't even know if he's there. Oh no, they refused to loan him out. That's right. If you want to fall into the Billy Gilmore set trap again, be my guest. Already talked about Genipo. Very good, very cheap leverage against City. And then, yeah, these guys kind of exist. And if you want to go here, then go here, but not a ton of goal upside. Defender really quick. Talked about TAA. I mean, if you need money paying down to Robertson, I mean, it worked in the Champions League. He went off. It'd work again. I don't think you can feel bad about that. Cancelo, I believe, is going to be on the left. He is expected to be. So he essentially becomes a bit of a midfielder there. I don't love him in that spot. With the other spots here, I wouldn't pay up for him. I'd rather pay for Tierney, to be honest, especially against Burnley if you're going to be bombing crosses in. I think Matt Lowton's got some high X assists numbers, if that's your thing. But what I find here when I get here on these GPP videos, once I get to the non-pay up defenders, it's kind of like just correlate with your keeper or correlate with a forward. Like if you're playing Chris Wood, maybe you want a Charlie Taylor or Matt Lowton if you have the money. But on this slate, it's going to be tough. Like, why would you want to play Max Aarons? If you put in a center back to correlate with your keeper, then all of a sudden you have $2,000 left over. Like, go ahead and pay up to this range, but I don't know that there's anyone in here that I love. Tomiyasu at 4,000 probably is the best. Messina, okay. Danny Rose, they priced up. He had a nice game. He's about efficiently priced now. Walker Peters has been fine. Obviously not a great spot. Built-in Flor Diaz on the passing. Burnley center backs always in play. Livramento back down to 3,400. I don't mind that. I would play that even in city lineups, to be honest with you. Parad, yeah. So now you're down basically to the center back punt area. I don't see any projected wide players. Singaki a wide? I don't think so. Keep an eye. Suarez at 3,200. Cedric, if he starts, that's a nice little pay down option. Otherwise, Livramento, I think, isn't bad. All right, again, on keeper. Like, if you're getting up to these guys, you probably I don't know. I don't want to say you don't have enough leverage, but like there's some serious upside here. And I don't know how you get to these guys. Maybe they go lower owned than they should. And there are some weird goals in both City and the Liverpool match, and you get a guaranteed goal out of these guys with a win clean sheet. I don't know, but I don't see myself getting there. If you can get to Ramsdale, fine. Like Burnley's not a huge scoring threat. These are some weird prices that I don't think anyone's going to get to. So if you have the money and you like one side, then knock yourself out. But ultimately, I think it's going to be Pope. Otherwise, play the opposite side of where you're stacking. If you're playing a lot of City, play Gaeta. If you're playing a lot of Liverpool, play McCarthy. Or don't. Or just play Onslaught. You can do that too. But I think you're better off to play the other side in case something happens with that game and maybe there's not as much scoring as you expect. You don't have to do that. Not that much direct correlation, but I think you can get a little bit of leverage out of those spots if you want. So that's the thing. I mean, pick a position. I didn't cover the fading both City and Liverpool thing. Good luck if you do that. You're gonna have a lot of salary left over, but you can definitely get to Grealish and TAA and then just go wild on those other games and hope they go off. But generally, those the unbalanced matchups are the ones that get a lot of scoring. That and games between two bad teams, and those do exist on this slate as well. So, but a lot of people are going to be on those City and Liverpool guys. I would say Mane. If Salah starts, Mane is going to be the lowest owned of the Liverpool guys. I think. City. Just looking at, again, I don't know what's going to happen with the De Bruyne ownership. Otherwise, it's just kind of like the cheaper they are, maybe the more owned they are. Silva, notwithstanding, but he's not a great goal scorer, even though he just did score. I like Gundogan in that spot for leverage, and then maybe a Ferran Torres, depending on who starts. But Gabby Jesus out wide is also really nice. So, yeah, go wild. Just make sure you're pulling those levers this week because it's going to be really hard to just pick and choose Liverpool and City guys. If you're building a City stack and you find yourself at the end of your lineup and you can move up from like a Livramento to a Oxlade-Chamberlain, even if he is in that mid-ish role, like you can do that. You don't have to fully fade Liverpool. But if you're playing a lot of City, you're hoping for like a 4-5, which is completely in the realm of possibility. Same with Liverpool against Palace. But what you need to happen in that other spot is, Liverpool can win 3-0, but you don't want Salah and Mane and Jota scoring those goals. So if you can find yourself getting to a Fabinho and he scores again, then great. Then all of a sudden you have, leverage against the Liverpool chalk, as well as a lot of exposure to the City team that goes off. But if you're going to pick and choose between the two, I mean, like you can. It's going to be really difficult, though, with these prices and crafting lineups. So I think you want to take a stand. I think you want to hope one of them fails, if not both. But that's kind of the name of the slate. This is a tough GPP slate, but it's one to perfectly work on some of those skills and pull some of those levers that make you a good GPP player. Projections, which in soccer don't really matter. So we'll say expectations and odds here is a lever to pull. Leverage, which is what we talked about with, Southampton guys against City and that, and the other. And then, I always do this. Ownership. That's what you got to go for. So consider those things when you're building lineups. I don't know if I said it, maybe I said it a million times already, but like you can play Southampton against City in City stacks if you think it's just a game that goes off. You're still getting leverage there because not a lot of people are playing Southampton. So if you think they score, as long as you're not playing Ederson, like you could even play Allison in goal, City scorers, and Che Adams. But just don't play the other side of the game if you're playing a big keeper from one of the big favorites. So that's going to do it. Comment some of your favorite plays from the week. Come back to this show. Let us know what worked, what didn't for you. Make sure to tune into Tilt City this weekend and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Otherwise, go win a GPP this weekend. And again, come back to the show. Let us know how you did. Let us know what worked. And we'll talk to you next week here on GOALAZO.